facade of the museum. You can still see it. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, this book has quite a bit of pictures. Some of them, of course, are from here, but some of them look like old. How did they get these pictures? Are these old pictures in this?
Right. These are the pictures of the art that they got.
Oh, okay. So the art is here, and you just took the pictures.
Yes. So it's actually given to us from Peabody Essex Museum. So this is the picture of Mr. Derby Sr., the first millionaire of the United States.
And this is just a painting.
It's a painting, yes.
And it's available in the museum.
Yes.
So you got all these pictures. I see here some documents of money.
This is actually a very interesting thing. This is a print of one of the team that went out, and you can see the ages are written. So the other thing I wanted to tell people about is that the very young sailors and seamen went out. They were like Nathaniel Silsby. He was the captain of a ship when he was only 19. And again, this is very close to what we have just seen in the IT boom era or the internet boom era, that very young people started companies and could retire early. The same is true of the Salem East India trade.
Oh, really?
Yes, because Nathaniel Silsby was 19 when he was a captain, and he retired when he was 30. So he had made enough money to venture on to other paths. For him, it was politics, and he became senator from Massachusetts in 1826 to 35.
So this is a globalization back, in time.
Yes.
There was a globalization.
So I actually write about it. It resembles the globalized world of today in many ways.
And this picture is the picture that is from India.
This is a model of the bazaar or the marketplace in Calcutta.
And it was painted, I'm assuming.
It was built and painted as a gift for them.
Wow.
Yes.
So, and this is available in the museum.
It's displayed on the museum.
So so I wanted to ask you the question now. You have presented, obviously, this book is fairly new. It's not been adopted or used by any school system as yet, or has it been?
It is being used in some of the schools.
Some of the schools.
In the schools where we have presented it, it is there. It's up to the teachers, and sometimes they do that. So we have to keep working with them.
How do they, and you have presented many lesson plans.
Yeah, we have presented lesson plans.
Some of them related to this book and
yes.
some of them beyond. How are those taken, how they are received by?
They are received very well because this is very interesting, as I said, for schools, especially in today's context where they want to bring global education into the classroom. This topic and the book is very relevant. As we know, you talked about globalization. Students today are going to be working for global companies, and therefore to have some understanding of the geography and other countries and the world is very relevant. So I think this gives students a very interesting glimpse of global trade relations and how the US and what role the US played in that with a historical context.
How do you think the role it played at that time, let's say after independence of the United States, and what role it is playing today?
I think there are a lot of parallels. As I said, the US was still reaching out, going to the corners of the world to trade, to profit from it, to grow capitalism, and as the conclusion of the book says, that those profits led to the Industrial Revolution in the United States. I think the parallel today is that the companies of the US are looking to trade and sell their equipment or their goods to companies in China and India and Brazil. Wherever the growth is, there is a connection, and so I think capitalism and its basic principles remain the same.
So but part of the problem, I'm not sure if it was then, is today we don't have very much manufacturing in this country. It's mostly things are manufactured in India or in China, which are being bought here.
Right.
Was this similar situation there? I mean, we have all this economic problem here, which is kind of balance of manufacturing.
Right.
You don't have really much to sell other than Wall Street computer programs or programmers who manage those. Is that also a parallel there between time in the past and today?
I think it's a different stage. Clearly, manufacturing has gone overseas, but the products are globalized.
Yeah.
The marketing may be done there, the design might be done here, and so on. So, in that previous era, of course, the content of the product was clearly defined in one place, but that has changed. But I still think that, you know, there is a lot of relevance between what was happening then and now. One of the ones that I would like to point out is the way we talked about how they used to take money. It actually sort of reflected a lot like the stock exchange of today.
Yeah.
So the sailors who went on the ship were allowed to take their own private money too.
Okay.
And they could take money for others.
And
so some of the
trade.
sailors would take it for their father or for their children, and you know, some children gave them $1, and they would bring them back some goods and they would trade it and, you know, make money. So there are lots of interesting aspects.
They use real money though.
Yes, real money.
Not the electronic money. I
No,
think that
no.
sometimes can be very slippery, and I think we are facing some of those problems. Tell me something about how this book is helping the goals that you have set for Meru Education Foundation.
Sure. So like I said, you know, this is an important resource now. The book stands for itself. At least on this topic, we can tell the teachers when we go to talk about it, and the principals and curriculum developers, that here is the resource. It's not something you'll have to create. It's very easily available. So in that sense, it completes the lesson plan and the lesson kit, the box that we build for it. It also helps us in sort of defining the path in what we want to do with other topics and other grades. But you know, the book is also for anybody outside of the school system. It's for our own community. You know, our children, they don't know much about this. I think it's a very good introduction to the first time India was introduced to the US.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know myself.
So in that sense, you know, for people, you know, since there's a lot of interest between Indo-US relations today, this book and the content of this book gives a good historical context to this.
So, and a very, very strong foundation of this free trade and economy, and something I heard that you were making a presentation at the release at the Vedanta Congress at UMass, said something about the trade that involved some ice trade also.
Right. So the ice trade was actually from Boston, and that was not from Salem. Okay. Right. From Salem, it was, as I said, mostly goods, money, currency. More
important thing was from Salem, and then Boston had ice.
Right. Right. But Boston then, when the trade declined from Salem, from 1840s onwards, Boston grew and Boston took over.
Yeah. And what was the story? Tell us something about that ice trade.
The ice trade actually is something that I have not focused on.
Okay.
It was mostly because of, you know, the connection between the hot climates in India and them wanting to drink, you know, cooler drinks, and this is something that they could have here. So
it's an interesting thing.
It's an interesting thing, but
how is India important to the United States today? Yeah, you know, looking at this background, at that time, of course, both were colonies of the British.
Right.
And, you know, one became free, so, but they were still kind of, India was under that control. Now both countries are free.
Right.
And both have similar values in many ways.
Yes.
Fundamental pluralism, respect for law and justice, respect for human beings, and freedom and independence.
Sure.
So where do you think, how is India, how well it is doing in terms of the importance to the United States?
I think the United States does value India, and it should value India. There's a lot of, like you said very rightly, lots of connections. The two are the largest democracies. Both of them value democracy. We have free elections in both countries. There is a very large diaspora from India now in the United States. So that is the people's connection. Even when in 20 years back, when our governments may not have been very friendly, the people's connection was there, and I think the role that the Indian Americans have played in bringing that connection is of great value. Again, we value education, family, so all of these things are important for both the countries. I think going forward, the fact that India is a growing country and it's going to economically is growing would be of great value, as we can see with trade and with companies sort of going into India.
When you do this lesson plans, you obviously interact with teachers and students and maybe sometimes even families. How do they see this? I mean, do they see that what is the state to state relationship in trade and all that, and then there is people to people relationship, there is a human factor in it. How do you feel about that?
I think at the schools, when the lesson plans are